and welcome to Eden's Secret. Welcome to my very first episode of soap making from scratch. I've been making soap for 16 years and want to pass on my knowledge to you. I'll create a playlist on my channel that will be called Soap Making from Scratch, which you'll find the playlist here. And each video I upload will automatically be added to that playlist, so if you want to watch from the start, just choose that playlist from my channel. I'm not charging for this series, but I would love if you could donate by using the link in the description box or by clicking the join button to become a valued member of my channel. Now you'll find the join button over here on the right hand side next to the subscribe button. If you just click that link, it'll give you some options to choose from. So you can choose whichever membership you like. We have low level perks or mid level perks. Low level perks, you'll receive a loyalty badge for showing your support and becoming a member. Mid level perks, you will also receive a loyalty badge. You can submit ideas for future videos, and also we can connect on social media, as well as other perks that will be added in the future. Now if you do join and you get a loyalty badge, that loyalty badge will show up beside your comment or beside your name in the comment section of the videos. You are now known as my secreteers. Let's talk a little bit about soap making history, shall we? The first concrete evidence we have of a soap-like substance is dated around 2800 BC. The first soap makers were Babylonians, Mesopotamians, Egyptians, as well as the ancient Greeks and the Romans, of course. All of them made soap by mixing fat, oils and salts. Soap wasn't made and used for bathing and personal hygiene, but was rather used for cleaning cooking utensils or goods, or was used for medicinal purposes. The Phoenicians used goat's tallow on wood ashes to create soap in 600 BC. Early Romans made soaps in the 1st century AD from urine, and soap was widely known in the Roman Empire. Yes, urine. You heard it right. The Celts made their soap from animal fat and plant ashes, and they named the product Zypo, from which the word soap is derived. Soap making history goes back many thousands of years. The most basic supplies for soap making were those taken from animal and nature. Many people made soap by mixing animal fats with lye. Today, soap is produced from fats and an alkali. The cold process method is the most popular soap making process today, while some soap makers use the historical hot process method. And for now, it is the cold process method we will be focusing on. In the early beginnings of soap making, it was an exclusive technique used by small groups of soap makers. The demand for soap was high, but it was very expensive, and there was a monopoly on soap production in many areas. Over time, recipes for soap making began more widely known, but soap was still expensive. Back then, plant byproducts and animal vegetable oils were the main ingredients for soap. The price of soap was significantly reduced in 1791 when a Frenchman by the name of Leblanc discovered a chemical process that allowed soap to be sold for significantly less money. More than 20 years later, another Frenchman identified relationships between glycerin, fats and acid, what marked the beginning of modern soap making. With the 1800 discovery of another method of making soap ingredients, soap became even less expensive. Since that time, there have been no major discoveries, and the same processes are used for the soap making we use and enjoy today. Advances came as the science of chemistry developed, because more was understood about the ingredients. In the mid-19th century, soap for bathing became a separate commodity from laundry soap, with milder soaps being packaged, sold and made available for personal use. Today, there are many different soaps made for a vast array of purposes. Soap is available for personal use, commercial and industrial use. There is handmade, homemade and commercially produced soap. There is soap used to wash clothes, dishes and cars. There is soap used for your pet, soap for your carpet and soap for your child. And that concludes our introduction to soap, the history of soap. Okay, now that all of that soap making history is out of the way, it's time to move on how to learn to make soap. What we will at first be concentrating on is how to make soap from scratch for your own use. There's a lot to learn, and before we sell a single bar of soap, we want to make sure that we've come up with a perfect recipe. We want to feel confident in our soap making, and once our recipes are perfect, it is only then that we can move on to selling soap, but that will be further down in the series. Before that day arrives, I'm going to make many different recipes to find out which ones you like the most and that fit into your own style of soap making. Then you can go from there, and I'm hoping I can find something suitable for each and every one of you. So what is our own style or variety of soap making? Well, it's all down to what kind of person you are and what you like. Are you a pure and simple and naturally earthy with muted shades kind of person? Or do you like pretty things, frills and fancies and frou-frou and lots of pastels? Could you possibly gothic or witchy and like dark colours, oranges, blacks and purples? Do you like tattoos, coloured hair, etc.? Seems like Lush really fit into this category because a lot of their staff have tattoos and coloured hair, at least in the UK. What about full-on glam and shine? Lots of glitter. This is me. But me is also the pretty things. What about artistic? Are you of the artistic variety? Do you like paintings and sketches and drawings and vintage art, modern art? Is this you and you want to create products? Now that you know which category you fit into, you still need to know the basics of soap making. So let's start right at the beginning with the equipment that you need. Now don't be put off by the imagery that you see on screen now. This isn't the equipment that you actually need. I simply did a Google search for soap making equipment and this is what came up on the screen. Now I know when you start you're probably not going to have enough money to buy all the equipment that you want to buy. You might not have any spare cash at the moment. I started with nothing and built everything up piece by piece, so I know that you can too. I'll show you the equipment that you will need for your shopping list, but if you can't afford that, I'll find an alternative in my kitchen cupboard. Then all you need to do is buy the ingredients that you will need for your very first batch of soap. This will probably cover in the next video, so there's no great rush. We're going to take our time and do everything in layman's terms. Why layman's terms? Well, because I'm a layman too. I need everything explained to me in a simple way that I can understand it, with not too much information at each step that overwhelms me. I want to learn each step of the process so it sinks in and stays there. Let's look at the minimum amount of equipment you will need to make 1 loaf of soap. Okay, here we have our equipment, but before we go any further, I just want to remind everyone the Soap Making from Scratch series is free. I've created a join button on my channel. If you want to become a member of my channel, you can. If you don't, that's fine. You can still see these videos. There will of course be some benefits for those people who do join my channel. Have to give benefits if people are going to become members of my channel. If you want to do just a one-off donation, there's a donation link in the description box below the video. So if you click the join button, basically what it is you're becoming a member of my channel and you're actually supporting me going forward. This will help me to create more videos, and I do need to make money doing this, otherwise I can't sustain my business and then I'll end up going under. So if you know, this is just a little bit of something extra. So if you join the channel and become a member, you can choose from either low level perks or mid level perks. Low level perks are $1.99 a month. And if you join as a low level perker or a secret tier, shall we say, you're going to get some loyalty badges next to your name when you post a comment or anything like that, and everyone can see that you're a supporter of my channel, which is fabulous. The mid-level perks, you get a bit more for the mid-level perks. The mid-level perks, you still get the badges next to your name. I'll take ideas from you on what to make for future videos. We can connect on social media and have another couple of ideas. So there is another way that you can help. So on any of the videos that I do, over on the left hand side over here, this is the description box area of any video, and if you click show more, all the information you need for that video is actually in this description. Now, part of this description over here, there's a thank you for your support area, and if you click that link, you'll be able to PayPal me a one-off donation. You can choose whatever amount of money that you want to put in there, and I'll have to accept it and receive it. But all donations, all memberships are greatly appreciated, and if you can't donate or become a member, even just watching my videos really helps me. Just getting that support really does make a difference to me here at Eden Secret. So whatever you can, I'll be just really grateful for, and then I can continue on doing what I love. So thank you for that. Now let's move on a little. Okay, right, over to the equipment. I really didn't expect there to be so much on the table here. But basically, most of what I've got, you'll probably have in your kitchen cupboard somewhere. If you haven't, there are very cheap alternatives out there that you can go and buy. So the first thing we need is safety equipment. What you must have if you're going to make cold process soap is some goggles to protect your eyes. Now, goggles are to be worn when you're making soap and also when you're washing up your dishes, because splashes can come up out of the sink and they can go in your eye. How do I know? Because I've done it. And it stings when it goes in your eye, trust me. It also stings if it gets down the back of your nails. And so you must always wear rubber gloves. So you're going to need a box of rubber gloves. Luckily, most people will have a box of rubber gloves in the house at the moment, because we are in, well, it's during coronavirus, depending on where you are in the world. Some people are in lockdown, some are not. You'll also need some old towels, just cut up into, I cut mine up into about this sort of size here. I guess you might want to know how big that is. It's probably a foot round about a foot, 15 inches by 10 inches. All my cloths are just different sizes, but you're going to need those for the clean up. So old towels, old tea towels, an old sheet cut up and washed, very useful. Now moving on to mixing up lye, you will definitely need a pair of rubber gloves when you're going to be mixing up your lye. Try and get the ones with the long sleeves that come right up your arms. I tend to find that's better than wearing a long sleeve jumper or something, and the reason I say that is because for me, I'm a little bit fidgety and I might actually rub my face with my jumper. Say I get an itch on my face and I've just mixed up some lye, and if that lye gets onto my jumper and then I rub my face to scratch it, I'm going to get the lye off the jumper, because those granules will sort of evaporate up and stick to any surfaces that are above your jug, so it'll be actually get onto your arms or any clothes that you're wearing. So a nice long set of rubber gloves is more than useful for mixing up your lye. Right, now I just want to mention here, when I first start this soap making scratch series, there will be no fragrance involved, and at first actually no colours, but I have got some utensils here that you're going to need for when we get round to adding colours, etc. So an absolute must-haves for a soap maker is a good sized jug. I use these Stewart 2 litre jugs. They have a curved base in the bottom. I absolutely love that. It stops any of the unmixed soap getting stuck in the edges. The 1 litre jugs do have it's not a 90-degree angle, but the soap, unmixed soap, can get stuck in there. So you're going to need, I would say, a 2 litre jug, a 1 litre jug, and then this is a ½ litre jug. All of those are useful. If you can afford to buy more than just one of each, that would be great, but you don't need them right now, multiples. Just get one of each if that's all you can afford. If you can't afford jugs, there might be something in your kitchen cupboards that will do. I'm sure in your kitchen cupboard somewhere you will have a sieve. I've got quite a few sieves. You will need a sieve, so any of the equipment that you're going to be using for your soap making can only be used for your soap making. Don't make soap with it and then start cooking with it. Definitely best to separate it, because no matter what, if you're cooking with utensils that you've been adding fragrance to or making soap in, then your food will taste of soap. Again, I know that because in the early days I have actually done that. Same with your microwave. If you need your microwave for anything, but we don't need a microwave. Not for this series anyway, not at the moment. You're definitely going to need some weighing skills. Again, if you're new to this and you just want to learn how to do this as a hobby, just get the cheapest scales that you can find. They'll do. As long as they're accurate, you're going to be okay. Obviously, I've got cheap scales and I've got expensive scales, but I just wanted to find the cheapest items I could find here to show you. Obviously, not everything I've got on this table is cheap. Right, okay. You're also going to need a stainless steel spoon, and the stainless steel spoon is to stir your lye with. It'll also come in useful later on for scooping your oils, your solid oils, out of their boxes and scooping those into your measuring jug. You're definitely going to need some silicone spoons. Now again, these are not the cheapest ones, but I have large, and then I have the smaller ones, and I have the sieve that goes with it. They're all silicone. They're probably the most expensive spoons you can find, but I will put links in the description box to everything. But you can buy these types of silicone spoons. You can get 6 and they're dirt cheap. These will do. So if you can't afford the Zeal, which is this red brand here, but they do come in other colours, just go for the cheap silicone spoons. They still do a good job at scraping out your containers. I prefer these because they sort of curve over like this, and that seems to work a lot better for getting stuff out and actually holding it onto the spoon. We don't need them yet, but I did put them in here, some measuring spoons. So if you can just find some nice cheap measuring spoons from 1/8 of a teaspoonful all the way up to a tablespoonful, or anything in between, they'll be useful. Again, you don't need these yet, but when we're doing colours, you're going to need some sort of container to mix up your colours in. Now, you don't see me using these on YouTube, but you can get paper ones, paper cups, they'll do. So you don't need those yet, and you don't need the measuring spoons yet. They'll be introduced later on in the series when we come to mixing colours. This is just a cheap whisk. So this type of whisk is absolutely great to use as an alternative to the expensive. I think you'll definitely need a scraper. You're bound to have a scraper in the house somewhere with a flat end. This is great for if you spill any soap on your countertop. It's great for scraping up any soap that you've spilt. You're going to need a knife. Again, it doesn't have to be a global knife like I have, but what you're looking for is a nice sharp knife with a fairly flat edge. Don't go for a knife that curves round quite a lot, because it's very difficult to cut soap in a straight line with a curved edge. You're definitely going to need a blender, a hand blender. Again, obviously the one I have is an expensive one, but just find the cheapest hand blender that you can, because you're just learning how to make soap at the moment. If you're dead serious about soap, the links are all in the description box below the video to the better quality stuff. If you're not sure yet whether you want to turn your soap making into a business, you just want the cheapest stuff you can find. It's not an absolute necessity, but see if you can find a nice cheap temperature gauge like this. Again, I'll have links to the expensive and links to the cheap in the description box. You'll need something, again, this isn't for right now, so this can go with these at the back. Eventually you're going to need something just to measure your fragrance in, so just any type of glass container or plastic container or even metal will be fine. With your blender, if you can find a blender without these holes in the bottom, I know mine does have holes, but the ones without the holes seem to be better for not making too many air bubbles in your soap batter. You're definitely going to need a pan to make your soap in. I think this one is about 4 or 5 kilos. I don't know if it says it on there. No. This is a Hardwood pan. I've had this for many years. You can see it's getting a little bit, well, I don't know. It's getting a bit old, shall we say. If you haven't got a pan like this, just steal one out of your pan collection that you use for cooking. But make sure you always just keep it for your soap. Once you're using it for your soap, you don't want to go back. Right, and the last thing that I can think of that you need is a soap mould. All the links to these soap molds are in the description box below the video. This is the cheapest soap mold I could find. It's 1.4 kilos, so that's how much soap batter it holds. And again, if you can't afford to buy everything here, and you can't afford to buy a proper soap mold, you can make one out of a cardboard box, or you can just use any old container, a mushroom carton that's made of plastic, a Tupperware dish. You know, you might have an old silicone mold somewhere that you can use, and you don't actually need the proper wooden loaf mold that we see here. So there is one other thing that you need that I've forgotten to mention. And that is a potato peeler. You'll be able to make your soap look beautiful by taking the edges off your soap with your potato peeler. I hope I haven't missed anything. I'm sure I will have. If I have, then I'll put it in a future video. So that's our equipment today. Remember, the things here you don't need to buy right now. Okay, so what I've got on the table now, I think are the must-haves for any soap maker. You're going to need a ruler for measuring. You're going to need some old towels, cloths, whatever you want to use, or kitchen rolls, fine. You definitely need some rubber gloves. You'll need some weighing scales, a cheap whisk, some goggles, a large jug, a medium jug, a small jug. If you can buy more jugs, that would be better, but you don't really need them until we start to introduce colours and things like that. You definitely need some rubber gloves. You'll need a metal spoon, so just take one out of the kitchen drawer, a silicone scraper type spoon, a potato peeler, a scraper, a nice sharp knife. A temperature gun will be very useful. I would call it a must-have, but you don't actually need to know the temperature of your soap when you first start learning, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to melt our oils and do our lye, but we're going to let them cool down to room temperature. And it's very safe to soap at room temperature, and that's the only reason why you wouldn't need your thermometer yet. But if you can get one, get one. We need a soap mould of some description, whether it's a handmade one like this, or just a box, or a carton, or a Tupperware box, an old Tupperware box, an old silicone cake mould, something like that. You're definitely going to need a hand blender. Now, yes, you can make soap without a hand blender, but it just takes much longer to mix the soap up and get it to come to trace. And you're going to need some sort of pan, just enough to hold your oils. So your oils are probably, your oil measurement might be around, well, let's just say enough to hold 1.4 kilos of soap. So it'll need to be definitely 2 kilos, because you want a bit of room above your soap batter so that your pan isn't full of soap batter, and your pan. Okay, did I mention the ruler? I think I said the ruler first. Okay everyone, thanks so much for watching this very first video of soap making from scratch. Don't forget the playlist in the description box below the video, and I'll see you all very, very soon when we're going to be talking about ingredients. Bye bye for now.